Good evening. Your time now is 5:52. I'm Jeannette Reyes.
And I'm Ona Kosaramdi, and this is Off the Record.
Not for real. This is Off the Record.
Kamie, welcome to the group chat. Hey. You're known for being outspoken, whether it's on Catfish, in a way that it's gonna hit you in the gut.
This bitch still thinks that she's something. She's nothing.
Hating at a grown age.
Was it scary at all?
1000%. It was the scariest decision. I was literally shaking when I posted, is he racist or is he not? And I'm like, is this a question? Yes. The things that I hear now don't even come close to the things that I heard when I was 17 years old.
What happened? How do you walk away from your dream job? Kamie, welcome to the group chat.
Hey.
Listen, we love you from, of course, Catfish. You love your Relationshit podcast. Sports Illustrated.
Yes.
Killing it.
Honestly, you know when other people say your resume out loud, it's like you forget the things that you've done.
Like,
sometimes
I did that.
when I like introduce myself to people and they're like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I do this. And then, oh, I also do that. And then, oh, but I also have this. Sometimes time flies when you're working your ass off.
But you're right. You're literally, you do it all. Like, are you as busy as you appear to be? Because it seems like you're all over the place.
Yes. But I feel like I'm almost immune to it because when I'm not busy, I think as I've gone throughout my career, I've figured out that if I'm not super busy, I need to like cherish those moments and like actually just sit in them and be at peace. But it's very hard for me to not have something going on. Yeah. If I don't have like at least two things going on at once, I feel like I'm failing.
Wow. That sounds about right. That tracks. And I feel like we have first gen problems that we can unpack later this episode.
Yes.
But no, I want to give you your credit too, because I'm the type of person like, love your career. I'm going to Google you and be like, all right, let's see, does she get this because her dad is the head of Viacom, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, right, right.
But the more I like looked into your background, the more I'm like, oh, she was in the trenches with us. Like you really, really worked.
Yeah.
So for those of you or for everyone who doesn't know, you kind of got your start in pageantry.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that.
So I won Miss Teen USA in 2010, which feels like forever ago, but it also feels like yesterday. It's like the weirdest thing. But I was 17 years old. I, was the first Black Miss Teen USA from Maryland in ever. And then I was the first Black Miss Teen USA period in a decade. So it was a very interesting world, pageantry. I didn't know anything about pageants at all. I didn't grow up watching them. I think I had like seen Miss Universe one time, but I had never grew up thinking like, oh, I want to be in a pageant. My parents weren't pushing me to do it. My best friend literally one day walking out of school was like, I did Miss Maryland Teen USA last year. I think you would like it. Like, you'll meet a lot of cool people. It'll be fun. I was like, okay. And I went home that day and told my mom that I wanted to do this pageant. So I didn't have any experience in that, but I ended up winning on my first try. Then went on to Miss Teen USA because you compete at state first and then nationals. Won Miss Maryland Teen USA, went on to Miss Teen USA, won that, and moved to New York the next day, which I was already prepared to do. I had already packed my New York bags. Like, they were like, do we need to like send you back to the DC area to like get your stuff? I was like, oh, no.
I'm ready.
That's my But you're 18 at this time?
I was 17.
What? I didn't come to New York till I was like 26 because I was so intimidated.
It's
that
a
it would
crazy
swallow
city.
me up.
Yeah, it's a crazy city. But as I was training for Miss Teen USA, I had it in my mind that I was in New York and like living that life.
It seems like you thrive off of a challenge or something new. Is that true?
Yeah. I think it's the first gen thing. I also think it's like eldest daughter syndrome. I have 5 younger sisters and like I have to succeed. It's not an option. It was never an option for me to just like sit by. My parents always drilled it in me, like, your sisters are watching you. They're paying attention to everything that you're doing. But I like the pressure.
Wow.
I've never felt overwhelmed by it. I've always felt fueled by it. And I think that has helped. So yeah, after being Miss Teen USA, while I was Miss Teen USA though, I had a completely different idea of what my career path was going to be. I wanted to be a dermatologist. I did not want anything in front of the cameras. Like that was never something that I had even thought could be a career path for me, because I didn't know any TV hosts. I knew doctors. I knew lawyers. I knew like people who were doing traditional jobs. But yeah, and so I got a lot of experience while I was Miss Teen USA in front of the camera. And that was the first time that I realized, like, oh, this could be something that I could be good at. And I'm actually into it. It's fun. I feel challenged by it just the same. And then after Miss Teen USA, went to college and realized very quickly that biology was not going to be my major.
This is not my ministry.
I was like, this is actually not my testimony. I'm going to switch to communications. And I did. It was the best decision that I ever made in my life.
And then it's funny because then it makes sense.
Yes.
Once you pick it, you're like, oh my gosh, what was I doing? This was it.
Exactly.
It's the best
Something
feeling.
you said that really stood out to me that I know you will understand, because we go through it and we go back and forth. You said that when you later on had a hosting coach, that she taught you to be outspoken, because you're known for being outspoken, whether it's on Catfish or whether it's on your podcast. You say it sometimes, you know, in a way that it's going to hit you in the gut. But I love it. And I love how outspoken. I love how outspoken you are. But you talk about how, like, that wasn't your Miss Teen USA days. Those are the prim and proper. You're going to have the media right answers.
Yes.
And I feel like we're kind of going through that now, where it's like we came up through traditional television and putting, you know, the guards down and showing your personality and being yourself is not as easy as like flipping it on.
1000%.
So what was that journey like for you?
Well, even though my pageant stint was short, I mean, I won Miss Maryland Teen USA. I think I had 6 months to prepare or 9 months to prepare for Miss Teen USA. And then I did that for a year. So less than 2 years of my life was spent in the pageant universe. But you learn very, very quickly that you have to assimilate and get with the program and button it up, delete anything that looks suspicious. That's why when these new age kids coming up are getting canceled for stuff that they post, I'm like, I don't have anything in that. Well, now I do,
red solo cup anyway.
I put it there. Right, we couldn't know red solo cups. They would always say nothing good happens in a red cup. So like you can't have that. There was nothing anywhere of anything. You had to wipe that slate clean. And I mean, I guess I don't know. It was such an interesting experience for me. I knew that I was one person before the pageant experience, but then as I was going through it, it changed me in ways that I didn't really expect. And then when you win the national title, there's even more pressure on top of that. And then you have the pageant community watching you, and they are some of the craziest people that you will ever interact with.
In what way?
The things that I hear now about myself as someone with celebrity don't even come close to the things that I heard when I was 17 years old and I was a pageant queen. When I tell you, I have heard myself be called every name in the book. I have had death threats. I have had my name and face on a KKK website. I have had every single thing. That's why now when I get crazy DMs, I'm like, psh,
this is nothing.
Let me tell you.
Not the pageantry being like,
I know. This could be like an expose, true life documentary.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Because, again, I was the first Black Miss Teen USA in a long time. They're still, till this day, crowning some of their first Black title holders in a lot of states.
So let me ask you, did you realize that with getting that title of the first Black Miss Teen USA, that it would come with all of that? Like, were you bracing yourself?
No. I am from Potomac, Maryland. I am from the suburbs. I did not experience racism firsthand. Like, that was just not a part of my life. I had friends who were from all over the place. I had friends who were Persian, Indian, Black. Most of my friends, like my closest friends, had parents from the Caribbean, African. Like, that is where I come from. And it's one of the wealthiest counties in the country.
Yeah.
So everybody's kind of on the same playing field. You know people who are cut from the same cloth as you, who are going to the same universities as you. It's not uncommon to meet somebody who is of color and also successful. But for a lot of these people, in a lot of the places where they come from, who knows how many, the most Black people they see is on TV. They don't really see us in real life. So I was not expecting that. But I didn't really let it faze me as much as I probably could have, just because I knew about racism in general,
Right.
obviously. I wasn't ignorant, but I had never experienced somebody hating me for my skin color.
How did your mom, I know you and your mom are close.
Mm-hmm.
How the heck, because as a mom,
Mm-hmm.
you want to come for people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is Joe John's name on whatever? I'm going to track him down.
Yeah. Oh, she hated
Or how does she
that.
not snatch you out of the pageant?
She almost did, actually. She almost did. But it wasn't even so much the fans. It was more the people behind the scenes that were not kind.
Oof.
And were trying to, you know, they do like this whole like break you down to build you back up type of thing, because if your head gets too big, then they can't control you, you know? It's a really weird thing that like people have not really spoken out about, because there are so many people who still want to be a part of this thing and like think that it's going to catapult them into success. People still think that the reason why I have the opportunities that I have now is because they put me on. It could not be further from the truth. I have the opportunities I have now because I worked for them. But the spark of the idea that I could be good at it came from that.
Yeah.
So I don't take that away from it, but they don't put you on to anything. You got to put yourself on to
And you got to have
everything.
something to begin with.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So
I'm glad you said that though, because for the longest I used to think, oh, if you come up through the pageant world, you have opportunities in television, modeling, they set you up. It's almost like you're a child actor who then turns into a full.
No. I would go to auditions and not mention anything about being Miss Teen USA. I didn't even have it on my resume because I didn't want to walk into a room and it'd be like, oh, beauty queen. Okay, well, okay, do your little audition and like, you know, we'll call you. Like, I didn't want anyone to have any kind of preconceived notions about me. I wanted to set the standard of myself, of who I am when I walk in the room.
I want to ask you about your childhood. It's actually really, really interesting and inspiring. Tell me, like, who was little Kamie? Were you always confident?
No,
Is
girl.
that little girl looking at you now like, who is this? I love her, but who is she?
Yeah, no, she's probably looking at me like, oh my God, this girl is crazy. No, I was not always confident. I, grew up, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio.
Shout out Cleveland.
Shout out to Cleveland. I was only there for 5 years. Cleveland tries to claim me. I'm like, I really can't, like, I appreciate the love, but I can't take, ownership.
They said
of this
LeBron
place.
and Kamie.
Yeah,
That's what we
like,
got.
I would love that, but like I don't have those, feelings. But I grew up being bullied relentlessly. I was bullied, all of elementary school, parts of middle school, from boys, from girls. Like I was jumped, several things, crazy things.
Like, what was it?
Anything. I had super curly hair, and if I would beg my mom to straighten it and then come to school with it straight, they'd be like, your hair looks so much better when it's curly. Why would you have it straight? It looks ugly. Okay, so now I go home and I wash it, and then I come back to school. Your hair looks so much better straight. Why did you get why? No, it was always something. And when they say like, oh, boys are mean to you because they like you, like it didn't feel like that. It felt, I think that we actually discount a lot of the behaviors that were normalized in the early 2000s as just like boys being boys, but like some of it was actually like borderline sexual harassment, if not that. And just like, evil stuff, like holding my stuff outside of the school bus, getting the entire elementary school class to like race towards me and my friends to like jump us on the playground after care. It was ghetto. It was a mess. It was a mess.
So mad.
Have you ever hit any of them up? Like, look at me now.
They know where to find me. They talk about me still on Facebook. Oh yeah.
Oh, I think wait. So
We
tell
can
us
jump
this
them
story.
collectively. Like now we can rush them because now I'm mad.
Yes.
Tell
How
us this
dare
story
they?
because you're still taking up space. What in
And
their
will
minds?
continue to. So there was like 3 main girls in elementary school. I call them Ed and Eddie now. And they were relentless every single day, like pulling my hair out in chunks, like slamming me into stuff, all kinds of stuff. And there was never a reason. Like they didn't say this is why we're doing it. It was just hatefulness, like and jealousy. Who knows? Like there could have been countless reasons, but they were just nonstop. And I didn't really know how to stand up for myself then. My mom would literally sit me down and teach me comebacks. Like she was like practicing with me. Like, okay, if they say this, what are you going to say? I have a very Jamaican Aries mother. She does not play about her kids. So, and she also called up their parents several times and told them to meet her outside at 2:15 because she was gonna
catch me outside.
Yeah. She would be like, I've got you and my daughter's got your daughter and you could meet me outside in the parking lot.
Oh, she a real one.
And I would be like, I don't want to hurt anybody. She was like, I'm tired of getting calls from the principal's office that you're in there crying. Like, this is insane. So anyway, they were just, they were nonstop. And that was when we were, in the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. A few years ago, I want to say like 3 years ago, I'm like sitting with my sisters and we're talking about like our bullies because some of my sisters were bullied too. And I was like, I wonder where Ed and Eddie are now.
Oh, snap.
So I go on Facebook. And it doesn't take me but one scroll to see that they had reposted an article that I was in about Catfish. And they tagged each other. And they're in the comments like, this bitch still thinks that she's something. She's nothing. Like, just like.
Wow.
Hating at a grown age.
Imagine that.
How are you mad 30 years later?
I was so happy.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
So happy. I was just like, this is the best Christmas gift of them all. Because I'm still occupying so much space in your mind. And I'm looking at your life. It's not impressive. But you have so much to say about what I've been able to build for myself because you haven't grown.
Yeah.
Nothing about you has changed. And that's why I say that haters are just confused fans.
Ooh.
Because
I like that.
You're reposting my article on People Magazine.
I thought they were at least going to flip on you and say, that's my girl, Kamie. We were BFFs.
No, that would have been fake. And I definitely would have commented. I definitely would have commented on that. But no, they were still hating years later with children.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I do want to let's fast forward because seeing your journey, everything that you went through to become a television host. And at 25, you say you almost quit.
Yes. Oh,
you call it your quarter life crisis?
Yes. It was dark times. I mean, I moved here at 17. I realized that I wanted to be a host and started like working at 19. And from 19 to 25, it just felt like I kept like chipping away, but nothing was coming. Like nothing major was coming. And again, I have a very ride or die mom who every single time she turns on the TV, she's like, I'm watching this such and such. And you guys could probably relate to this. I'm watching this such and such. And I just feel like that should be you. You could be doing this. You should be doing this. I'm like, okay, mom, like I'm trying. I'm working towards it. I've been working towards it. And it was hard. And in New York, like I knew that journalism wasn't going to be my thing. I knew that just wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to do more like entertainment. I wanted to be the host of E! News. Like that was my goal. And I also at the time didn't want to move to LA. So I was like, okay, how can I make this happen for me here in New York? But I had been in New York for so long and it wasn't happening. And I was just like feeling very discouraged. And I was like, what am I even thinking? Like, what am I even doing here? Yeah. I need to just switch gears. I need to get a regular 9-to-5 job, maybe something in fashion, maybe something in a magazine or something like that. But like TV, everybody wants to be on TV. Every pageant girl that I know wants to be the host of E! News. Like I was having a lot of self-doubt. And of course, like I thought I was great. My TV hosting coach who like had really worked with me on my like political correctness and not having a point of view and just trying to say the copy. And every time the camera turns on, I'm like, dude, and like somebody else, like I just like transform into this other person.
Familiar.
I mean, for some TV jobs, for some hosting roles, it's necessary. Yeah. Like you have to. As a journalist, like that is what you're supposed to do. But I was looking to get into something that would maybe require me to say my opinion on somebody's Golden Globes outfit. And I can't say, well, you know, I really love the color, but
beautiful
it's
gowns.
Just not my style. Like, no, like I'm going to have to say something. And especially the way that E! News was going, like they had Fashion Police at that time. I think Daily Pop had just like started up and it was opinion-based TV. Yeah. And I needed to tap into that, but I wasn't yet. But I was trying and I was like doing a lot locally. I was hosting segments across the tri-state on like what to get your mom for Mother's Day, or, you know, best looks for fall or whatever. And I was like styling pageant girls that I recruited on Facebook, where I would be like, tomorrow morning, I need 5 girls in New Haven, Connecticut to do this ABC segment with me about scarves. Like, who can make it? And that's how I was like recruiting my models.
Listen, that story was the one that made me realize she's a real one. Because unless you, under deadline, have to get an impossible task done, you don't know the hustle.
1000%. My TV hosting coach, Miss Barbara, she's in Brooklyn. She's amazing. She's now actually a certified life coach. I say she got that because she did so much life coaching for me. There were so many times I went in for a session about hosting, and I just sat there and like cried to her and just told her, just like to get things off my chest. And that's how I was able to like open up. But she also trained Ryan Christopher. He's now on Fox 5. Love Ryan. At the time, he was at ABC in Connecticut. And she connected us, and he was like, hey, like, we need a fashion segment tomorrow morning at like 6 a.m. in New Haven. Can you come? Can you bring 5 models, and can you style them in fall looks? And I was like, of course. Ooh, absolutely. And I pulled some stuff out of my closet and I wrote on Facebook. That was the first time I ever did it. Like, I need 4 guys. Got my girls, asked them to bring like, hey, can you bring a dark denim pair of jeans? Wow. Can you bring a white t-shirt? And I just took a bunch of stuff out of my closet, rented a car, packed it all up, got ready at like 4 a.m., drove to New Haven, Connecticut, got there, styled the girls, did the segment, slept in the parking lot because I was exhausted, slept in the parking lot, drove back. And after that segment, I did it again multiple times.
So you talk about like the self-doubt, you're frustrated, you feel like you're putting in all this work and you're not getting to where it's like running to exhaustion in the same place.
Yes.
How the heck do you tackle, like how do you get over that and move past it and use it as fuel? What did you do?
Well, I drank a lot of wine. A lot of wine. A wine bottle did not go a week in my house.
I hated
to see me coming. 4 days, I'm like, and at that time I could actually drink because I was young. But now there's no way a bottle of wine would set me back like 4 days. But what happened was I was sitting on my couch crying, drinking wine, looking up these jobs. I'm scrolling. And I'm like having this self-doubt, like, oh, I just need to get a job. Like, I'm just never going to happen. And I was modeling at the time as well. So I still had money coming in, but it wasn't money. Like, it wasn't sustaining my entire life. And I was finding a lot of jobs for my friends. And I would see the jobs and I would be like, oh my God, this would be an amazing job for this friend. Actually, my best friend who recommended that I do the pageant, I found a job listing for a job opening at Vogue and forced her. I was like, you are coming to New York and you are going in for this position. She ended up becoming Anna Wintour's assistant for years. And then recently just signed off as senior director of events for Vogue. Where she was planning the Met Gala. And now she's like doing VIP relations for Cartier.
You're a real one. That's amazing.
Listen, I love putting people on. Like that's one of my favorite things to do. Whether they know that I did it or not, like I love doing that. But so I was finding things for other people that I'm like, I can see their entire future, like in this role. Why can't I see my own? Like, why is it not like, because this is what I'm supposed to do. So finally, I had this like gnawing feeling in the back of my mind that I needed to move to LA if I really wanted to take my career to the next level. If I wanted to have a career, like before you give up, either you're going to move to the outskirts of New York and like get pregnant and just like, I don't know, do something else.
Or cry yourself to sleep.
Yeah, cry yourself to sleep and tell your children about these TV dreams that you once had. Oh, that would like regret is my worst fear. I was like, okay, I could either do that or I could move to LA, try it for a year. If I hate it, I'll just come back. And that's what I decided to do. It was literally God, like telling me multiple times a day and me being like literally, it like, you know, when you hear something and it's like a gnat, not to say God's a gnat, love you, but like, it was just like a constant, like, this is like, you need to be in LA. And it's funny because my mom got pregnant with me when she was 25. At the time when I was thinking that I need to be in LA, I was also 25. But my mom had always wanted to live in LA. She migrated from Jamaica to Cleveland, Ohio, which is strange.
Not LA.
Not LA. Very, very strange. My grandma was like living there and married at the time, so she moved to Cleveland. But the whole time she was in Cleveland, as a teenager, as an adult, like she went to Ohio State, she was like, I'm going to be in California. Like, that's what I want. I want to be in LA. My aunt had moved out there, so she was like, I definitely could see myself there. And she did it. She moved. She got there. She found out she was pregnant with me.
Oof.
And she moved back to Cleveland. Oh. And so she never had her LA opportunity. Yeah. So when I started feeling this feeling, I've never been this far away from my family before in my entire life. My family has lived in Maryland my whole life pretty much. And I called my mom and I'm just like, I think I need to be in LA. And she was like, if you go to LA, you will be like fulfilling every dream that I have ever wanted. Like, you have to go. And we packed up my stuff. I did not have a job out there. I didn't have anything like set up. I just had a feeling. And it was crazy because we planned the move for a Monday. On like the Wednesday before that, I had gotten an email from somebody at Catfish casting department, and they were like, hey, like, we've seen your stuff. We think you would be great to like guest co-host an episode for us. Like, would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, of course. But I think I was in such like a bad mind space that I just thought it was a joke. But I was like, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah. What do I have to lose?
What do I have to lose? I already don't have a job. Like, okay, I might lose my life, but
so wait,
I tried.
Were you just a little jaded at this point? Because I feel like I'd have been like, yeah, it's my big break. Catfish call me. And just be really excited.
I think I was just like a little loopy. Like, I had decided to move across the country, and I'm still having this like self-doubt. Like, when is this going to happen for me? How long is it going to take? Like, why am I not Oprah Winfrey already? Like, I should have this thing that I think I should have by now. What I didn't realize was that I needed every single minute of all of those years to build up to where I am now. I needed more tools. Like, I needed to figure things out a little bit more. But yeah, I get this email. I'm like, hey, would love to. Like, of course I'm excited, but I'm kind of like, is this a scam? You know?
Right.
Is this like a human trafficking scheme or something? I didn't know. And I was like, even if it is, I'm going to try.
Here's my social.
Here's my information. Here's my driver's license. You know, set me up. Wednesday, they're like, hey, we're booking you a flight. You're going to see your flight information like in your inbox. I'm still like, okay, sure. They're like, okay, you're going to leave on Friday and we're going to film in Iowa City Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We can have you back Sunday night because you have your move or whatever on Monday. I'm like, okay, sure. I leave New York for Iowa City. My mom and my sisters are literally packing up my New York City apartment because they're like, you don't need to delay. Like, go to Iowa City. Go to Iowa City. I'm on the plane. I'm in first class. I'm having a little champagne. I'm like, okay. It's not clicking in my head that I'm like on my way to my future. I meet with the producers and everyone when I land. We like all have dinner, still not thinking anything. It wasn't until the next day, the first day of filming, Neve walks in with the cameras. They're on me. I'm like at the crafty table, like eating cubes of cheese. I'm like not even thinking that this is the thing. And that was when my heart literally dropped to my butthole. Because I was like, oh, it's happening. Like, this is a thing. And as I had that moment of like, oh my God. And then that was it. It was just like immediately clicked for me. And I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do.
But you were filling in. So did you feel once you did maybe the first taping like, yeah, this is mine. I got this?
Well, they were secretly auditioning. I didn't realize that they had done they did a whole round of chemistry tests and like a bunch of stuff with different hosts in LA. So by the time they had asked me to come on, I didn't have to test. They just let me do the episode and they asked me to actually do 2. They were like, can you do 2? Without even seeing if I could do the 1. So I was already like, oh, like, well, that's cool. Like they think that I can do too. Like, but I'm also like was delusional because I didn't think that it was actually happening. Anyway, after we filmed the first scene with the laptop, like, because all of that is real. We do all of that as you see it. We open the laptop, we read the email. After we filmed that, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do with my life. Wow. Like, this is my job.
So I want to get into Catfish because actually I did not know it was real. I was gonna start fact checking with you.
Yes.
Until actually the other day I watched the Jerry Springer documentary.
Oh my God, I just watched it.
Did you?
So
the
good.
biggest takeaway from the documentary is that those are real people.
Yeah.
And they did not fake anything. There were no actors.
Yeah.
So I was
Jerry
wondering,
did not play. He was like, don't send me any fake stories.
So with Catfish, immediately I was like, oh, I gotta ask her. We will get to that. But what we kind of set up right now is this was your dream job and you waited a very long time for this job.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Yeah.
How do you walk away from your dream job?
I think my dreams had changed. I did it for 6 years. 6 years is a long time. A lot of people don't stay in their normal, 9 to 5 non-TV jobs for that long. But I was blessed enough to be able to do it for so long and for it to keep getting renewed. And like MTV loves Catfish. They were buying episodes out the wazoo after I got hired. And like, I was so like grateful. Yeah. I also was a longtime fan of the show. I'd been watching from the documentary when it came out. I was in college, like trying to figure out if I wanted to be a communications major or a biology major. So I have always loved the show. I've always loved the people that we meet on the show. I think it was just time for me to step away. I just needed to do something else.
So did you leave Catfish on your own terms?
I did, 1,000%. 1,000%. There's so many things swirling on the internet. And even when I say that it was on my own terms, people are still like, no, like something, she must have been kicked out. I'm like,
yeah.
No.
You know what? I think it speaks to something because she and I both had like our pivot, right? Like I was a former news anchor in DC, loved it there. And it was my dream job and grinded for a long time to get it. And it was actually the perfect, like a job can be great.
Yes.
And you're just like, but it's not for me anymore. Same thing with Mona working at ABC. And there's a lot of like, clearly something dramatic happened. What did they do to you? Did they push you out?
Yeah.
And it's hard for people to accept. Sometimes the chapter is just done.
Yeah.
Did you encounter that? Do you think it speaks to that larger sentiment?
1,000%. And it really, the fans of Catfish are the best fans in the whole world. And like, I believe, and they have told me that they will follow me to wherever I go, whatever I do. I also simultaneously, while hosting Catfish, 3 years in, I was offered an overall deal by Paramount. So my contract moved from being at the production company to being at Paramount, Viacom. And I started hosting 2 other shows, X on the Beach and Are You the One? And, when you're kind of fame, stardom grows, people think like, oh, did she get a big head and now she's like stepping away? It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with the people and the stories. I'm still very attached to all of that. I just felt that my role on the show, I had done everything that I could do and I was ready for my next chapter.
Was it scary at all?
1,000%. It was the scariest decision. I was literally shaking when I posted the post that I had already, I had already drafted that months and months and months before because I had already felt like it was time for me to go. I just did.
What inside you, and I just want to get to this because a lot of people sometimes are at a crossroads and it's like, how do you know when to make the leap and that it's not like fear or whatever it is. What told you, what did you feel? Like, was it like the Nat situation? It was a gnawing feeling.
I wouldn't say it was like that. I think for me, regardless of what your role is on a show, regardless of how incredible of an opportunity it is, I think that as a woman, as a Black woman, there comes a time when you have to make decisions that are difficult for yourself, for your mental, for your emotional, for your bag, for whatever it might be. For me, It was for a lot of reasons. But there comes a time when you have to make tough decisions. And that was one of them. And sometimes you have to make decisions where you're like, okay, if I don't make this decision right now, I'm never going to do it. If I don't choose me right now, I'm never going to choose me. Like, when am I going to set that precedent? Yeah. And that's what I decided to do.
When you talked about it, I saw that you were getting emotional.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it was very difficult for you to talk about it. And you were a little bit limited on explaining the reason why you left. Why did you do that? And also, when you are getting emotional, what is coming up?
I think, again, as a Black woman in this business, we have to be very careful with how we approach anything. Yes. Like, I am so lucky that I am known for my comebacks and my, you know, quick wit and reading people down, because if I wasn't, and that was just like what I did behind the scenes, but that wasn't really who I was, who knows if I would have had this job. Like, it's a privilege to be able to be so, I wouldn't say combative, but like confrontational. Yeah. It's a privilege, and I don't take that lightly. But we have to you have to tread a line. Like, as people in entertainment, just in general, you have to tread a line. So there was a lot that I did say when I recorded the podcast that didn't actually make it to the end of the podcast.
We need the 30 minutes that I'm missing now.
Everybody wants the 30 minutes. Listen, that is
we want the
subscription service. Do I need to sign up for? I need the full story.
Oh, honey, listen. Sometimes you got to just reel it in. Sometimes you have to be like, you know what? Does this benefit me in the long run?
Yeah.
No? All right. Cut it out. You know?
Speaking of, what has been the most controversial thing you have said that's like blown up, or maybe like backlash that you've gotten?
Oh, God. You know, there's so many things. The one thing that stands out the most to me is, so when I was Miss Teen USA, Trump owned the pageant. You know, I've met him. He's always been kind to me. I have said that publicly many times. However, my first time meeting him, I was told before I met him from a Black person at the organization who was like my travel manager person that, you know, you're going to meet Mr. Trump today. I'm just letting you know now, he doesn't like Black people. So if he doesn't want to shake your hand, if he doesn't really communicate with you, don't take it personally. But if he does, then maybe you're just the type of Black that he likes. So good for you. And I was like, what? And this is like my first month on the job, and I was 17. And again, like, coming from where I come from, I just was like, what? Like, I was so confused. Anyway, I tweeted about that experience because it then went on, and like I witnessed him do something very racially charged, like in my presence. And I tweeted about it before the 2016 election, because that was when people were like having conversations about like, is he racist or is he not? And I'm like, is this a question? Like, yes. And I didn't think it was going to go anywhere. I just tweeted it, this experience. Next thing I know, I get a call from my mom.
Oh no.
And she's on social media, but she's not really on social media. But she was like, Cameron, why is CNN calling me on the house phone? What did you do? I was like, well, remember that time? And she's like, Cameron.
When they call you by your government
name.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, okay.
I was like, you know how you like Anderson Cooper?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Surprise, mama.
Hello. I thought this would be fun for us.
But what did you tweet about, the racially charged incident, or what they told you before you met him? What was the incident?
Well,
your mama's gonna hate you. Let me stop. She gonna come for me.
I'm grown. Okay, this is whatever. People expect this of me, and it's like it's out there. Everybody knows about it. But basically, she told me that the day I was gonna meet him, we go to Miss Universe rehearsals. And you know, where all the girls are like in bikinis walking down the runway and, you know, doing their thing. And at the time when he owned the pageant, he would have like the first 3 rows be of all of his friends who would fly in on their private jets. Like, these are like billionaires. These guys have all more money than God. And they all fly in and they sit and they watch the girls compete and they watch them rehearse. And it's like a little boys club.
Miss Teen USA.
This was Miss Universe.
Okay.
So the contestants are anywhere between 18 and 26 at the time. But still like young girls. Anyway. So he's in the center. They're all crowded around him and they're all watching. And Miss Switzerland comes down the runway and she was like his type to a T. All the girls knew what his type was. If you had any kind of moles, you had to get those removed because he didn't like moles. It was like there was like a list of things. Like if you want to impress him, you know, fix these things. And Switzerland comes down the runway. She's beautiful, of course. And he's like tapping all his friends and he's like, look at her. Oh my God. Like clearly like having a moment. And I'm in the back of the auditorium, but I'm like in the middle watching this whole thing. And I haven't met him yet. After Switzerland comes Miss Tanzania.
Oh no.
Who is a model, by the way.
Yeah.
But black, cropped hair, beautiful, not his type, apparently. I watch him turn to the back of the auditorium, go, like make a vomit face, and stay there. Doesn't even watch her, like finish what she was doing.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really gauge the reactions of the friends because I was so stunned by this. Also, I've just heard moments before this that like, you don't like black people. I'm about to meet you after this. Do I have a chance if like the 7-foot Tanzanian model coming down the runway doesn't have a chance? I was in shock. I was in shock. And then they wrap and my travel manager is like, okay, time to go meet Mr. Trump. You ready? And I'm like, fuck.
So that's what had your quote retweets in shambles.
Yeah.
Oof.
But then I meet him.
Yeah.
And all I said was, hi, Mr. Trump. Like, I'm your Miss Teen USA. I'm sure I said my name. And he was like, oh my God. Oh my God. She's so beautiful. Listen to her speak. Listen to her talk. Wow, she's so smart. And he starts like tapping all his friends. And now I literally felt like I was an animal in like a cage because now I have all of these like grown men over top of me gawking at me and everyone. She's so smart. She's so smart. And I'm like, I didn't even say anything smart. But I guess if you don't really like black people like that, you must not think that we're that smart. Like, you must not think that there's any way that I could possibly articulate myself enough to introduce myself to you. Anyway, so I tweet about that. And yeah, it went a lot of places.
And right to your mom's doorstep.
Right to my mom's doorstep. And it was amazing to me how many people who were obviously, you know, voted for him were like, so what you're saying is that he was complimentary of you and he was nice to you and you're upset about that? And I was like, that's what you got from this? Like, we clearly we live in two different Americas.
The body knows. And I've learned that. Yeah. There have been situations where I'm like 17, 18, you don't know better, but you know you're uncomfortable. For me, like growing up in California, it was microaggressions. I couldn't articulate exactly what I didn't like about a situation, but my body would tense up. And I would, you know, keep score. And then later on in life, when I look back at those situations, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what I was picking up on.
I mean, at the time, I was just relieved that he liked me. Like, I was just like, oh, thank God.
I can see that.
Because I've seen what he has done when he hasn't liked the girl who's won. He'll go on every nighttime news show and talk about like, oh yeah, so-and-so won, but gosh, that Miss whatever, she sure was something, wasn't she? How embarrassing. Like, I didn't want that for me.
So when you get like backlash like that, does that ever discourage, like not even discourage, but are you ever like, let me reel it in? Do you take it down a few notches or you're just like, oh, y'all thought that was bad?
I usually double down.
10 toes. I
usually double down. But I think now that I have reached a certain place in my career, I definitely hit the backspace button more than I used to. I used to just fire everything off. I didn't care what it was. because once I found my voice, I didn't want to lose it. Like, I was just so excited to say how I felt and get these things off my chest. And people also agreed. And I came to terms with, if the people who don't agree are going to unfollow and they're going to move on. But the people who do, those are the people that I want to stay around. Because if you have an issue with me speaking about a social issue, a political issue, or a personal issue, you're not my people.
Yeah, you're weeding them out.
I don't want y'all anywhere near me. Now, if I make something that is like FDT, I barely get any DMs from people being like, he's the best person. No, because those people are gone. Yeah. I have created my community. I'm very happy with that.
You built your following brick by brick.
Brick by brick. I am very happy. So that now when they sneak in, like today I had like 2. Now when they sneak in, I'm like, ugh. It's like seeing a roach run through your living room. I'm like, oh my God, where'd you come from? Please leave.
I always say I got the fastest block finger this side of the Mississippi.
Yeah, I definitely utilize that a lot more than I used to.
Yeah,
for sure.
I do remember when you popped up on Catfish, because I was like, oh,
yeah,
a black woman. What is happening? Because I used to watch the show. I watched the documentary, and Neve, and it was Max, right? They had a very similar look, like, you know, 2 guys that I would see at lunch together. Yeah.
Yes.
You get what I'm picking up. Yeah. Driving down. And so when you came up, I was like, okay, this is very different. She's very different from Max in all types of ways.
Yeah.
But it worked. But before it worked, though, were you worried that you wouldn't click with Neve, that the people would think that it was you can't live up to Max, for example?
I mean, I remember when the news went out that Max had left the show. And this was before anybody had hit me up about anything. I remember I probably have a tweet out there that was like, who's going to replace him? Like, what? Like, nobody can replace that chemistry. And then when I got the email, I was like, oh, well, one, still delusional, not thinking that this is like a real thing. But once I was doing it, I was like, oh, like, this is for me. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I didn't feel like I wasn't going to measure up. I just knew it was going to be different. I also come from, you know, doing something different in a pageant space and getting a very, very crazy real reaction from people. And I didn't know what the reaction was going to be. I know that people love the show. I know that, you know, I had something to prove. And I was willing to do it. I had something to prove to the audience, but I also had something to prove to Neve, because I could tell when I first came in there that he was like, who is this girl?
Ooh, really?
And what is she giving? 1000%. He was just like
side eye kind of?
Yeah. Like, who is this like beauty queen girl? Like, I'm going to take her to Mobile, Alabama, and like the backwoods of Nebraska, and like have her meeting people who are spilling out their deepest, darkest secrets and fears. Like, what can she actually bring to the table? And he got it. He got it with the program very quickly.
Are you sure you weren't projecting?
No, he made it very obvious.
No, he actually wrote me a note and said,
no, he made it clear. He definitely made it clear. But I understood it. I was like, this is your baby. This is your thing. You've been doing it for a long time. Like, you want to make sure that whoever's going to come into this role is going to take care of it.
Right.
And that was my only intention ever. And I think that I did that I've gone above and beyond in every sense of the word for that show. Like, there's not just, I don't just host the show. I watch every single cut of the show before it goes out, especially if we're talking about any, you know, hot button topic or issue, if it's queer issues, if it's race issues. I want to make sure that we have correctly and sensitively defined exactly what we're talking about. If we're talking about dead names and trans people, I want to make sure that the audience knows exactly what that is, because if you don't, you might just let it pass you. And if you've never encountered a trans person, you don't know anything about their experience, then you may not care to know. But this, you're going to learn today.
Right.
Like, we're going to make this an educational moment and teach something. You know, we were filming during Black Lives Matter, I say the reprise because Black Lives have always mattered, and, you know, people have been protesting for a long time. But we were filming while the protests were happening, and you know, Neve and Max are known for coming on the show and wearing shirts that have different slogans on them, or, you know, sayings or political things. I came on with my Black Lives Matter t-shirt. I was talking about how I was feeling as a Black woman who, you know, was frankly too afraid to go outside and like protest because I just didn't know what the reaction was going to be. But I was doing a lot of like behind the scenes things and posting and resources and donating and all of that. And I remember seeing the comments and the backlash, and all of a sudden it was like, I'm seeing comments from people, not a lot of people, but like enough where they're like, since Kamie's been on the show, there's a lot more Black people than there usually were. And I miss the way it used to be. Mm-hmm. Or Kamie makes everything so polarizing. She's wearing this shirt. And then I'm seeing other fans of the show being like, Neve and Max wear shirts like this all the time.
What did Neve say about it?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. He's been wearing the shirts. He's been doing the thing. But I realize that the message sounds different when it's coming from a different messenger. Mm-hmm. And that's okay.
Yeah.
In this point in your career, and we talk about this a lot too, like what advice you would give your younger self. Mm-hmm. But I want to know, navigating entertainment and the behind the scenes and all the stuff that comes with it.
Yeah.
What advice would you give yourself, and like what have you learned?
I mean, I think the biggest piece of advice, which can sound kind of like a throwaway piece of advice, but like you genuinely need to be kind to everyone because you don't know where people are going. People move around the industry all the time. The person that's at Fox today might be at ABC tomorrow. The person that's at E today might be at Netflix tomorrow, which literally happened to me. And I've been blessed to have opportunities because the people who are moving around are fans of mine, love me, know my work ethic, know how I show up, know that I respect my job, and the people who are on the crew. It doesn't matter who you are. I'm introducing myself to everybody. I don't care if you're the DP. I don't care if you're the showrunner. I don't care if you're the person bringing me my water bottle and a fan. Like, I want to know your name. I want to, you know, interact with you in some way, even with my casts. Like, producers were shocked when I did Are You the One in X on the Beach with how much time I spent after the camera stopped rolling with getting to know my cast. And I'm like, because I'm asking them to be vulnerable with me as a host, even on Catfish. Like, how am I going to get you to open up about something that is a real fear for you, or your daddy issues, or your abusive ex? How am I supposed to get you to open up to me if I don't know you? And I'm just standing on this podium, calling your name and asking you to reveal something to me. And then when the camera stopped rolling, boop, bye.
Yeah. I think people underestimate, and when you're younger, how small the business is. It's incestuous and people talk.
Yes.
Like word travels fast.
Oh, yeah.
And then you don't know why you didn't get the job, but it's because they asked about you. You know what I mean? And you're not doing yourself any favors. I wonder, you alluded to this in something that I saw where you talked about last year, how it was a really like either your hardest year or just a really hard year. Why has that been the case?
I mean, I think I was really struggling with what I knew I needed to do with leaving the show.
So it had to do with that.
Yeah, I was really, really struggling, and I was, you know, still trying to do my job, but it was very difficult. And it was just, I was exhausted. And I also, you know, the show is a beast on its own, and it's a very unique show. It's not like other TV. Like, it's not like any show that I know. There are some shows where people can go into a studio and bang out 4 episodes in a day. It takes us 4 to 5 days to do 1 episode. So, except for in COVID, we were able to do episodes in 2 days, sometimes 3. But you're traveling across the country, changing time zones all the time, sleeping in not the best hotels.
Dang.
You got to check for bed bugs every time you get in there. You can't even just lay your body down. Like, it doesn't matter what time it is. Sometimes we're landing at an airport, the main airport, but the actual location of where our hotel is 2.5 hours away. So you might land at 10 p.m., but by the time you get to your hotel and get to sleep, it's now 2 a.m. and you got to be up 7:30, 8:30, whatever it might be. You're in a different time zone. You're being kicked back 3 hours, forward 3 hours, whatever. Wake up. We do the first scene, have a little break, go back, meet with the person, get to know them, and they're divulging a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who, like I said, I'm very, very involved. Like there's not a piece of it, of your life that I don't want to know about.
Right.
I want to be fully engaged and locked into that. But it is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And 6 years of that. And also we were like on-call doctors. It's not like there's a schedule. They don't say, hey, we're going to be filming from May to August these days. No, it's literally boop, boop. I get a text. Hey, what's today? Monday? Wednesday, you're flying to Alaska for 5 days. So if you have a hair appointment, a gyno appointment, you got your best friend's birthday, a wedding, forget it.
So how is Kamie now? Like life, I wonder if it's similar to, yes!
So I'm having heart palpitations over here because that sounds like a correspondent schedule. And that was a schedule I did for like about 2 years. And it is, it's a lot. It's taxing. You just want to be home sometimes. It also is like you could be in the middle of dinner and someone calls you and you got to drop everything.
It's anxiety inducing. I was having panic attacks a lot. I was landing, if I landed at LAX knowing that I was going to have to pick back up, because if we do back-to-back episodes, you might have 2 days in between. If I knew I was going to have to go back, I'm talking hyperventilating on the plane, like crying through the airport, praying that nobody recognizes me because I can't breathe.
Wow.
I had to really like do a lot of work in the anxiety department. I didn't want to get on any type of like medication, but I had to like do some, you know, natural remedies and like, wait, that sounds like weed. It wasn't weed because actually I can't smoke. I'm not a good smoker, but I had to do some natural remedies. No, but like L-theanine and like GABA, like the LA stuff that like can keep your anxiety down. I developed, life-changing gut health issues. Just from anxiety and honestly, like maybe like mild depression.
Wow.
It was a lot. There was a lot going on, and there was you also can't complain. Like you're not. Yeah. I remember one time I posted a story. We had done like 3 episodes back to back to back, and like I don't think I had really seen my bed. My apartment became like my changing room. Like it was like literally a changing room, clothes everywhere.
Pit stop.
Like pretty much my suitcase stayed packed. And I posted a story of me like on the plane, and I was like, I think I had taken like 10 planes in like a week and a half. And I was like 10th plane in a week and a half, like I'm going through it. And I got like at least 3 DMs being like, you should be grateful. Some people don't have the opportunities you have. Some people have never even been on a plane. I've never even been outside of my state. I'm like, I'm sure at your job, wherever that is, you complain some days. I don't care if you are Beyonce.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me Beyonce has not ever woken up one day on that tour when her feet are burning and her body, like literally your body is
aching,
burning, and been like, fuck this job.
Yeah.
We've all done it.
Absolutely.
We've all done it. It doesn't matter what you do.
It's funny because it reframes how you see other people's jobs now. Because I'm like, every job out there, there's a person who hates it. And I promise you, because at the end of the day, it is still work.
Yes.
And you still got to show up.
Exactly.
But I do love that you shared that, because even just right now, I feel like I feel seen, right? Because it's something that I went through. The phone, anytime I see a bunch of missed calls, I get anxiety still till this day. Yeah. So I feel like in moments like this, it's easy to look at your life and be like, oh, I wish I was, Kamie, just chilling in New York and LA sometimes.
Child, let me tell you something. I've filmed Catfish with a sinus infection full blown where like I can't even keep my head up. Like and both of us did, honestly, like where one person gets sick, you have to pick up the slack, like, and it's just the 2 of us.
Right.
And we make up a majority of the show. And if like we're not on, then what?
Right.
I remember the day that LA shut down for COVID, I got COVID that day. That was like, I was like patient X. Like I was like, it was the very beginning. And my car was in the driveway to take me to the airport. And I couldn't even pick my head up off the pillow, but I was like, I didn't know that I had COVID, obviously. They didn't have tests then. But I felt like dirt. But I was like, I have to go. Like the whole crew gets to our destination a day before. I can't just drop out like that. And that's not even me. Like that's not even me. Unless I'm dying, which I think I was, I am going to make it somehow, some way. Pump me up with steroids, do what you got to do. I've gotten so many IVs before going out and like doing something. And thankfully, I literally got a call and they were like, your car's outside. Do not get in it. LA shut down. COVID has spread to Los Angeles. And I was like, okay. And I just like passed out for days.
So the Kamie now, cloud nine, life is great.
I'm so happy.
You can't tell me nothing.
I'm so happy.
I love that for you.
I feel like there's nothing that I can't do. Like I really am driven in a whole new way, in a whole new direction. I love hosting. I don't see myself not hosting anymore, but I want to be behind the scenes. I want to create the shows. Like I have a producer's brain. I didn't watch all those episodes and, you know, cuts for nothing. Like I know what is needed and I'm also willing to learn. And so now I just feel like, give it to me. Like what's next, you know?
Were you in a relationship the entire time you're in Catfish?
I was in a relationship for 5 years while I was on Catfish, and I broke up with him, I think 2 years before I quit, but I then started dating somebody else at the end. So my boyfriend now, we've been together for 2.5 years, and which a lot of people think that I'm single because I don't be posting his face, but I'm not single, honey. I very much have a man, and I very much am in
They
love.
still hitting the DMs though?
Nobody's ever hit my DMs.
What?
No. Honestly, when they do, like,
you know why? There's another folder. You just are not seeing.
Did you check the spam and then like the spam within the spam folder?
I don't even want them. My man is so fine. Like there's literally nothing that they could even do. But I've seen them, but mostly it's because they're telling me how much they love the show.
Okay.
Like it's, and unless that's like their way of sliding in, but like it's never like, well, there has been one. He commented on my toes. I'm like, you're
that's
bizarre.
a block one. Yeah. Now people are gonna want to know where you found your man.
On Raya.
Really?
Yeah.
Maps.
Yep.
Wow. Was
I've
it
heard
like
I've got the
Mona's
last
where it was like
one.
the first match? That's it.
It was
Married.
wait, did you met on
Girl.
Raya?
On Hinge. First date, my husband.
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Literally, you have to apply to Raya and then they have to accept you. It took them like a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. My first day on the app.
Wow.
My first day on the app. And then he was the only date that I went on from Raya.
So Raya's like ballers.
My man is
Entertainment.
not, he's in
Allegedly.
entertainment, but he's not.
Okay.
He's not like a celebrity.
Are you gonna pull an Issa? Keep him private till the ring.
Yeah,
The wedding.
That's the plan.
Wait, you haven't posted him at all. We love this.
And why? I love it. But why?
Because I realized how much of myself I was giving away and like showcasing when I was in a bad relationship that wasn't real. Like, I'm not to say the whole relationship wasn't real, but like I'm posting a selfie that was taken moments after we had like the biggest argument of our relationship. And I'm like, happy Valentine's Day to the love of my life. Like, what?
Yeah. And everybody's like, relationship goals.
Everyone is like, oh
Yeah.
my God. When we broke up, I was getting so many messages from people being like, oh my God, you guys were goals for me. I'm like, that's sad. I'm sorry that like I made you think that. And now I'm in the healthiest, most beautiful relationship of my entire life. This is my husband. Like, fully 1,000%. And I've never felt that way about a man before. I've never said that a man was the best. He's the best man. Period.
Yes.
Like, I'm obsessed with him. He's obsessed with me. And it's been 2.5 years. I'm never obsessed with people past 4 months.
What makes you obsessed with him?
He's just so good. He's so kind. He's so protective and supportive. Like, you would be amazed. And I was just having this conversation last night with a group of guys who were like, man, I would love it if my girl was like you know, doing her thing, and she like was the breadwinner, and I was like, really? You
They
would
all say that.
And they were like, yeah, man, like if my girl was like a star, like I would love that. Like I would be a stay-at-home dad. I was like, okay. They were like, really? Like you don't encounter a lot of guys like that? I'm like, no. There are a lot of men who do not want your star to shine as bright or even bright, period, compared to theirs. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize how much of my star was being dimmed by relationships that just, they didn't want to see me doing what I'm doing now. They wanted to keep me where they had me and being kind of like at their beck and call. Yeah. If you're traveling the world or, you know, the entire United States of America.
What am I supposed to do?
What am I supposed to do? Who's going to make me food? Who's going to... My man, please. There's not a person... Because here's the thing. Mm-hmm. I don't post him on social media, but we're out together all the time. So people meet us all the time. People who listen to Relationshit love running into them when we're together because they immediately are like, oh my God. Aww. It's a joke. We call him Wizard Kelly because I always post like his from the chin down.
Yeah.
And he also knew when we first started dating, I was like, listen, like this is something new that I'm trying. Like I don't want to post. And he doesn't post on social media at all unless it's work related. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I respect it. Like he wasn't like, no, you need to post. Because I've had boyfriends like that too, where they're like, well, you're not going to post me. He's not here for that. But when we meet people in person and they want to take a picture with me, he's like, give me your phone, I'll take it. And he's like, he looks like a proud dad. Like he's just so excited to watch me grow. And even now with like my dreams of, you know, producing, he will sit there and like help me through. And because he also has the same kind of mind as me. And so very creative. And so he'll help me formulate things, figure things out, keep me on my toes. Like, you're over here scrolling on TikTok, you could be making your pitch deck. And I'm like, oh.
So ladies and gentlemen, that's how it should be.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. I want to ask some rapid fire questions. Mm-hmm. Just random questions. One hill that you're willing to die on.
I'm willing to die on a lot of hills. I'm willing to die on a lot of hills. Can it be a little problematic?
Sure. Absolutely.
I believe that women should always have their nails done.
Oh.
I don't care if you choose not to have a polished color, but I think that your nails should always be clean and done.
Okay. And I agree with. But listen, what happened, ma'am, was my nails started breaking in the middle from too much gel.
I know. But
I needed them to breathe.
I need something.
Anything.
Something. Okay, fair.
Anything. And you know what? I think it's a projection because I hate looking at my nails bare. Yeah. I can't even look. I got a toenail color recently that was way too sheer, and I'm disgusted every time I look at my feet.
All right. Second thing, 50-50, yay or nay?
For who?
In a relationship, for the woman, splitting it with her, specifically a man.
For what?
Oh.
It depends.
What are the factors?
Are we talking first date?
Serious relationship.
Serious relationship, I think that we can have some.
We can discuss.
We can discuss some things. I believe that, well, this is not rapid fire. Nothing is ever rapid fire with me because I always have extra.
Just let me give you this dissertation.
Yes. But I think that, you know, there's a lot that women have to do to get themselves ready for a date or to just like be presentable. Men don't really have to do much. All you're supposed to do is go out here and make money. So like,
fair.
Not all. Not all, but I do feel like I just feel like the men should be the leader, the provider. And, you know, I'm in a position where I have a great job. I make great money. And so we do split things sometimes, but he knows what I've got going on. So he's even more so like, no, I've got it. Like,
is it true that you were asked to be on the Real Housewives of Potomac show?
Yes, true.
What did you say? Clearly no.
No.
Was
My
it like maybe
mom-
later? Maybe.
No, my mom has been asked several times. She has said no every single time. And they were like, well, you know, could we get like both of you? It's
Not a
just
twofer.
It's just a no.
They asked me actually a couple of times. And
Of course
I was
they
like,
did.
I would bore your viewers to death.
See, my mom was like, I will go to jail. And I'm not doing that.
They
for
be
y'all.
throwing drinks.
They just do
a
too
lot.
much. And you know, it's so interesting because like this is the area I grew up in.
Yeah.
Right.
Half of these women don't live there. They're not from there. So like they don't, it's not, women who are from Potomac genuinely are not doing housewives. They're just not, because it's just not that kind of a place. Like it's very quiet, very understated, very demure.
You knew the Grand Dame before.
Mrs. Huger, yes.
I love her, by the way. She's so fab.
Well, I've known her since I was in high school because her daughter and one of my sisters were in the same class. And I just ran into them for Fashion Week too. But like when people are like, I grew up very like traditional. So like I don't call her by her first name. I call her by what I called her when I was in high school, which is Mrs. Huger.
Right.
What is one reality show you'd be on? Like for me, it's Amazing Race. I will sign up immediately.
I feel like I could be on Big Brother, but then I don't know. Yeah. I think they might get the real raw version of me, and I don't know. I don't know.
That's why we love you, though. That would be perfect.
I don't know.
Is there anything you're working on now? Anything
my
you want to
pitch
let us
decks?
Oh,
you better see that show.
Yeah, I have a lot of ideas, and I'm really, really excited about them. And some of them are like starting to bubble up, which is exciting. But a lot of people think that I left Catfish for a particular opportunity. And I was getting so many messages like, I just know that if you're leaving this, it's because you're about to announce something crazy. And I'm like, or not.
Right.
Or I'm just happy to just be able to relax for a little bit, enjoy my time. And I have. I mean, I announced in October, but I haven't filmed the show since like March of last year.
Oh, wow. You've been gone for a while.
It's been a minute.
Let's talk about the show for real quick because I need the answers. First of all, that little camera you be holding, is it actually used?
Yes. And I have so many shots in the show. What? People never think that I do. They think that I'm just like over here. Boop, boop, boop.
Was it necessary? I thought it was a prop. And then on the other hand, I was like, I know they did not put my girl to work.
Yeah, they like to have as many angles as possible. And honestly, I feel like it's really helped me with when you see so many ugly angles of yourself, you just are like, you know what? I don't even care anymore. Like I just sit down and I'm like, oh, hopefully it looks good. Like whatever. But no, I film on that.
Are you guys really using the Google reverse image to find out who people are?
Yep. That and another program called Pim Eyes that basically can, it like latches onto just your eyes and can find any photo of you on the internet from ever.
Oh, I did have a question. Oh, what were you going to
say? Sorry, I got a few show questions. Have you ever used that to help a girlfriend?
Ooh. Yeah.
Oh.
Hello. I was doing that before I got the show. I am a sleuth by nature. I'm a Scorpio. I like to, do a little research. And I'm the person who my friends hit up when they're like, I saw this guy at the bar last week. He had on a yellow shirt. It said this team on it. Like, can you find him? Of course I can.
Let me crack the main database of this program.
I find people like literally will be like, how did you find this?
Yeah. Do you believe anyone can be catfished?
Ooh.
Yeah. I have been.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Not by a romantic partner, but by a friend. Life is a catfish. Yeah. Everybody's catfishing in one way or another.
Ain't that a word? That is
like
life is a catfish.
In one way or another, everyone is giving you the best version of themselves, the highlight reel that they want you to see. Mm-hmm. And, I had a friend that lied to me about everything in her life. And we meet people like that all the time in real life. It's a little bit more daunting and creepy when it's somebody on the internet that like you've never met before. But it happens all the time. The guys who pull up in a Lambo that's rented because they're in Miami for a weekend and they invite you to their table and they got all these bottles, but it's their friend that actually paid for it because he plays for the Heat. Like, they don't actually have any money. They're actually sleeping on his couch. Like,
it's a catfish.
It's a catfish.
Yeah. Craziest catfish episode. Was it the Chris Brown one?
That wasn't even the craziest one for me, but I ended up seeing Chris in LA and he was like, you would be shocked how many women show up at my front gate all the time thinking that they're in relationships with me because they have whatever fake pages on Facebook or whatever.
Wow.
But we had an episode, this one's always going to be the craziest one to me, where a woman was catfishing a boy. At the time, he was 16 years old. They met on Xbox. She was 18. He was 16. This was like the love of his life. She put him through so many like traumatic, crazy, like toxic moments. And then she just like vanished, broke up with him. And then he ended up getting engaged and like moving on and having a kid. And he always had this thing about her. Like, where is she? Who was she? Like, where is she now?
Yeah.
We do the research to figure out who she is. We find the girl in the pictures, but it was not her. It was actually her mom, who at the time was like 45. And she was catfishing as her daughter, meeting like teenage boys on Xbox. Now, I'm immediately like, jail.
That's a Chris Hansen situation.
Straight to jail.
Go to prison. And I think I actually said that in the episode. They cut it out. But I was like, you need to be in prison, ma'am. I don't need to be talking to you. And it got even worse. She like used her daughter's nudes that like she would sneak in her room at night when she was like sleeping, and the daughter had a boyfriend at the time who she would send naked pictures to, and so she would take those pictures and then use them to send to these boys. And in the state where this particular guy was from, the legal age was 16. So there was no like to my knowledge, they don't ever have people on or like air episodes where something actually illegal has transpired.
Okay.
Because I was like, how'd this bitch make it through?
I mean, at this point, it's a different show. It's a true crime show.
Exactly.
Real quick, your safety. I've always sometimes, worried for you and felt like at any moment it could turn into, remember Cheaters?
Yeah.
Where the guy pulls out a knife. So how do you guys stay protected?
So there is a vetting process that happens before we get there. I say that it's like an escape room where, you're in the room, you're finding all the clues and you're trying to figure the thing out, but there is a person who knows how it ends. So the same, it goes for the show. There is a producer who knows who the person at the end is going to be, but they don't know if they're going to show up. They don't know how they're going to show up. I assume that they give them some kind of pat down before we get there. I actually don't know.
Wow.
We almost always have had security somewhere, but like, to be honest with you, I never really see them. And some of them I would doubt. I think my dog could help me more than the security person because sometimes they're just a little slow or like, they don't move too fast.
So retired mall cop.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the risk you take when you're doing Catfish.
I mean, yeah. And every confrontation I've had on the show has been real. Like there's never been somebody who's told me not to say something or told somebody to say something to me. Like anytime I've ever gone back and forth with somebody, that's very real for me.
Bok bitch.
Bok bitch was very, very real. And that was my first day as the official co-host. And I thought that I was going to lose my job because I genuinely thought I was going to put my hands on her. And I was trying to figure out how I could do it without all these cameras seeing it happen.
I was going to ask you if you ever wanted to fight anybody.
Oh, yeah.
Have they ever told you to like, hey, like, Cam, take it down a couple notches? No.
I actually asked them when I first got on, because like, I'm going to ask questions. Like, if you say something to me, I'll be like, what? Like, and I asked the producers after the first, I want to say first episode, like, is it okay that I'm like, I was like, am I being like a little like,
confrontational, intense?
That's not the word. I use another C word. But I was like, is this okay? And they were like, no, like, you're great. Like, be you. Okay. And of course, like, I would never take it to some like disrespectful level, because at the end of the day, I want to be safe. And like, these are people who have to sign off on this episode at the end of it.
Oh.
Yeah. Everybody has to sign.
Have you ever had anybody say, nah, I'm not signing off on this? Mm-hmm. And it was a really good one?
She ended up signing it. It was during COVID. It was a virtual episode. The girl had been accused of scamming like a ton of people. She did it 1,000%. I don't have to take her to court. She was guilty. She felt that she did not get to say her piece fully. And she felt that Neve was coming down on her really hard. Honestly, she deserved it, because we brought all of these people on the Zoom who she had scammed, and she was looking every single one of them in the eye and saying that they were liars. And we knew that she was lying. Mm-hmm. Long story short, this girl, she seemed like she was okay. And then we wrapped, you know, they're pulling my lights and everything down, because, you know, the setup for COVID, if you had to record from home, I'm assuming both of you did. They're pulling down all my cameras and all my stuff and putting all my equipment away. I poured a glass of wine. I laid on the couch. It had been long. I think this was like a 3-day one, because it was very long. I think it ended up being like a 2-part episode. It was long, or a 75-minute episode. And I get a call from our producers, and they're like, she will not sign. She wants to say more. She feels like she did not get to say everything that she wants to say. She's not going to sign off. Like, can you get back on the Zoom? And I'm like, is Neve getting back on the Zoom? Neve was like, F this and F her. Done, he left. He got in the car and he drove to the Hamptons. He went to go on his little family trip. He was like, bye. I'm like, so I'm going to do this. Okay, great. So we put everything back up again, get back on the Zoom. By this point, it's like 11:30 at night. And I'm talking to this girl, and she's telling us, she's telling me about the real situation and how people don't know the real situation and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like letting her get it all out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then when they cut the episode, they used parts of it and had us looking like we were all in the same Zoom, but we weren't. It was just me and this girl, and I'm her therapist, and I'm trying to make her think that what she's done is okay. Right. So that she will sign the paper.
Wow. It's a lot. But again, unless I didn't watch that Jerry Springer documentary, I wouldn't have understood that people do voluntarily put themselves in these kind of positions.
Yeah, they do. I mean, there are a lot of people who want to get this thing off their chest. They feel really, really guilty. Mm-hmm. The things that I have heard and seen on the show are so personal that there's no way that they can be made up. Of course, you have the people who come on because they want to be famous. Right. But we call those things out. We say it on the show because it's obvious. Like, it's bad TV to watch. You know, somebody's just here for like their 15 minutes of fame. Right. Like, we're going to say something about that. But for the most part, like, some of the things that people are confessing to us, we can't even air it because some of it is so bad, or like is incriminating for somebody else in their life, something that somebody else has done to them. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of abuse. There's a lot of like real, depression and things like that people have gone through.
Yeah. I will say I underestimated what people will do, even at their own expense, for a moment on TV or for a viral moment. You see it on social media all the time, and you're like, wow, you really put that out there. For
you really press post on that.
How do you balance, because this is a whole production, a lot of people have put in work. Yeah. How do you balance not exploiting people, but also showing, just doing the show and showing their journey? Has there ever been a moment where you're like, oh, this might look bad for us?
I mean, we've had people on the show where I'm like, this person like has had a really rough life, like a really sad life. But it doesn't mean that their story doesn't deserve to be told too. It doesn't mean that they don't also have something to say too. I go into every experience, with the exception of trying to get that girl to sign that paper, because we had to get her to sign the paper, and I was tired and I was ready to have my wine and go to bed. I am an empath by nature. I care about people. Like, I want to know, I want to know my Uber driver's life story. I talk to people in the grocery store. They tell me their whole life story. I've had people cry to me, strangers, revealing things to me that whether they knew I was on TV or not, like they just feel this ability to be able to share and this like vulnerability. And I don't take that lightly. So I have never gone into an episode with bad intentions, period. Like even for the Catfish, when we meet them, there's been times where I think I'm on the side of the person that we're helping, and then I meet the Catfish and I hear what they have to say, and I'm like, you didn't tell us that. You never shared that, actually. And now, actually, I don't think I like you. And I'll say it, you know? So I mean, I've seen discourse of people who are like, the show exploits people's pain or you know, loneliness, but like, is it exploiting it, or is that what people are actually experiencing? This is an actual thing that's happening in most of the country. We are very privileged to be on the coasts, but there are a lot of people in between who, these people are going to the same places that they've always gone. They are meeting the same people that they've always known. They're not meeting anybody new. They've got literally one stoplight, literally one middle school, one elementary school, one high school. Everybody knows each other. Everybody knows each other's business. So if they think for a second that the person that they're talking to, who's beautiful and lives somewhere super far away from them, could possibly be the love of their life, that is hope that they have. And yeah, at the end of this episode, it may be torn down, but I feel that my role as the co-host of that show was to help to build this person up even just a little bit, so that when we leave here, you still have something to like aspire to, hope for. Like, we're not leaving you empty-handed. And when we do leave, they have access to the producers still. We don't just like leave and just like say bye. Like in the Jerry Springer documentary, they were like, as soon as you leave the studio, you're no longer our problem. We don't operate like that. We have a psychologist. Like they have people, they have resources that they can reach out to. Yeah. And I mean, the show phone still has people's numbers in it from like season 2. Right. Yeah. So.
Well, thanks for painting the picture and showing us how things happen. And then we can also on the record say that it wasn't because you're a diva. No. It wasn't because Neve swung on you.
No. No, he wouldn't make it very far. He would not make it very far with that. No, I have my reasons. Will they be shared? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But the biggest reason was that I had to choose myself. Yeah. And I'm so happy that I did that. And I wasn't expecting... I wasn't expecting the reaction that I got, because I thought more people were going to be so disappointed that they were just like, ugh, like, bye, unfollow. But the amount of love that I received, and the amount of people that said, I understand, you've done such a great job. 6 years is incredible. Right. You should be so proud. We're so proud of you. We'll follow you wherever you go. I was so moved. Right. I was so moved. And that's why I said, like, you know, normally they say, like, don't read the comments, but like, I'm so glad that I read every single comment that was left, because they were so kind and supportive. Yeah. I'm like, I've done everything that I'm supposed to do. I think your story is proof of what happens when you bet on yourself and when you choose yourself. So I think a lot of people, that resonates with them either because they are there, or because I got a lot of people who are like, I wish I had done that, right? My life would have been so different. And I don't think it's ever too late, but you show people what's possible when you do those two things. 1,000%.
And we love to see it.
Yeah. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
And of course, we're going to keep following your journey.
Yes. I'm excited.
And
I'm
then
ready.
How can people find you?
I'm on all socials. TikTok, as long as we have it. Instagram. I was on Twitter, but now I'm not anymore. But everything at Kamie Crawford.
And you got your podcast.
My podcast, Relationshit. We air every single Friday. And it's a relationship advice podcast. We talk about all things relationships, the good, the bad, and the straight up shitty.
Subscribe for sure. And of course, you guys can find us at Off the Record Podcast. I always look to her like, yes, it is, on Instagram, and then Off the Record Podcast on YouTube. You can also find Relationshit on YouTube.
Yes.
As well.
And can I just say, I'm so proud of y'all. Oh, like, I've been watching along. I've been seeing the journey, and I know we know what it takes. It's not easy. And like, as 3 women of color in television sitting together like this right now.
Yeah. Sure.
Y'all have no idea. You don't know what it takes to get here.
Right.
It takes a lot to get here. And to like find community with each other.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I remember when I was getting into hosting, like I couldn't find a mentor. It was hard to find a mentor.
Find your people, yeah.
Yeah.
It is hard.
Sean Robinson was one of mine. She was like,
I
anytime
love
you need me, I
her.
love her. She went to high school with my dad.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. She's always like, if ever you need somebody. But, you know, it's hard and it's a small space. And I'm just very proud of what you guys are
find a
doing.
Kamie, be a Kamie. There you go. Be the person you want to be. All right. Thank you so much, Kamie. And thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.